listening to the Art of Homeschooling podcast, where we help parents cultivate creativity and connection at home. I'm your host, Jean Miller, and here on this podcast, you'll find stories and inspiration to bring you the confidence you need to make homeschooling work for your family. Let's begin. Well, hello, my friend, and welcome to episode number 50. Yes, I'm celebrating over here because we are coming up on the 1-year anniversary of the Art of Homeschooling podcast. And we just hit 20,000 downloads of the show. Woo! So in this episode, I thought I'd do a little looking back and share with you the most popular episodes so far and some of the comments that we've gotten. So first, though, a quick announcement and an invitation. For the 1-year anniversary of the podcast coming up in just a couple of weeks, we'll be doing an Ask Jean Anything episode. And you're invited to submit a question. You can do that by sending us your question in a very simple form, which you can find at artofhomeschooling.com/askjean. So simply go there and submit your question and then come back in 2 weeks for episode number 52 to hear my answers. So to start us off on this top episode, I want to share a new podcast review that I've just received. It came in this past week. All right, here we go. This is from Jacqueline Brave. I'm sitting in my car eating an oatmeal cookie after running errands at the end of the day. Jean talks about making sure you're taking care of yourself so that you can be your best self as the teacher. I stop the car because my eyes are blurry with tears. I've always been a self-care advocate. I even have a t-shirt that says, "Spread self-love." But putting that into practice on the daily with 2 tiny humans and lots to get done is hard. I know we need to fill our cups so we can fill others. Thankfully, we don't have to feel alone as we learn to take care of ourselves. Jean's words wash over me like a warm blanket of love. Sometimes we are mothered in such profound ways by other women. I can't thank her enough for her support through this messy, hard, beautiful, fulfilling path of homeschooling. Oh, wow. Thank you so much for this review. Brings tears to my eyes. I have women in my life, too, who supported me through my family's homeschooling journey, and I feel like I'm passing their wisdom along. And I just love the notion of seeing myself as mothering the mothers. I honestly think I have the best job in the world. Okay, so now are you ready to hear about the 5 top episodes from the first year of the Art of Homeschooling podcast? Here we go. I'll share them in reverse order. So the number 5 spot is episode 16, Stories Make Great Teachers, a conversation between 2 homeschooling moms. In this episode, I chat with my dear friend and homeschooling colleague, Allison Manzer, about our love of books and a little pet project that we have going on called the Book Hearth, where we create what I would describe as unit studies or main lesson blocks for multiple ages using one story as the center of a wheel of learning. In this episode, number 16, we share how you might use the story Coyote, a wonderful book that we read by Jerry Vistine, for a hands-on holistic book study. And we share lots of ideas, resources, and all kinds of activities that you can do with your kids in this episode for how you can build your own main lesson block around just one book. Be sure to check out the amazing printable that goes with this episode, and you can find it at artofhomeschooling.com/episode 16. All right, coming in at number 4 is a conversation with my homeschooling mentor, Barbara Dewey. So I met Barbara back in, I believe it was 1993, at the very beginning of my family's homeschooling journey. And I was so excited to discover that we both live in Ohio. Barbara has taught me over the years so much about the Waldorf approach, and especially how to keep things simple and doable. Particularly, she was particularly helpful after our third child came along. When my oldest 2 were in the early grades, so even before that, Barbara came to Cleveland every week for 2 days a week and taught a half-day class for homeschooled kids for 4 different age groups. And she would stay overnight at our house. We just had so many wonderful conversations around the dinner table over cups of tea. And she really helped me come into my own as a homeschooling parent and customizing the Waldorf approach for my family, for my children and my family. She and I also have collaborated now on the Taproot Teacher Training, which is a weekend, a live event, hopefully again in 2022, a live event for homeschoolers that happens the first weekend in August every summer. And for the past 16 years, Barbara hosted it, and now she's passed the baton to me, but still comes as a presenter to the Taproot Teacher Training. And Barbara just has so much wisdom to share about education, about the importance of family, about how so much learning happens in day-to-day life. So check out this episode at artofhomeschooling.com/episode 2. All right. We're going through the top 5 episodes of the first year of the Art of Homeschooling podcast. And in the number 3 spot is create a simple morning routine for a strong start to your day. In this episode, I share all about how to get your rhythm back after any kind of break. So after your summer holidays, after winter holidays, after returning from a trip, resuming lessons after any kind of break, or even recovering from an illness. We so often forget about ourselves, us, the mom or the homeschooling parent. We forget about ourselves when we plan all these lessons for our kids. We are organizing meals and taking care of the household chores and all kinds of other things as well. And we tend to put ourselves last a lot of the time. So in this episode, I really encourage you to build your inner strength by starting with a routine for you each morning. It can be super simple. And to go along with this episode, there's a wonderful printable that it has 4 inspiration cards. They're beautiful with some quotes from the episode itself that you can print out and keep in your planner or your back pocket or post up on your bathroom mirror, wherever you want, to help inspire you and help you stay focused on what's most important. I recorded this episode last fall. So the first fall of the podcast itself. And It was the beginning of a new homeschooling year for many of you, or it was actually, I think, right after winter break for many of you. And all this goodness still applies. Just remember that you can always begin again, because getting back to doable with homeschooling really starts with a nourishing morning routine for you and then unfolds from there. My current morning routine for myself is the very simplest possible approach, which it makes it much more doable, of course. And so you may know that I love acronyms, and my current morning routine is the acronym ME, ME, which stands for meditation and exercise. And some days I keep those both really short, but this is how I start my day every single day, and is the morning routine that I come back to when life gets really busy, or, when I'm in a crazy phase or season of my life, even to this day. So check out all the other ideas about how to create a simple morning routine for a strong start to your day over at artofhomeschooling.com/episode 13. And now for number 2 of the top 5 movement games and activities for homeschoolers with special guest Brian Wolf from Waldorf-ish. I had so much fun talking to Brian in this episode because we both share a love of movement and games. And we both love leading these kinds of activities for kids. So listen in as we talk about lots of possibilities for how to weave more movement into your homeschooling day, the magic of bean bags, the stages of play that children go through. Did you know that play can be an invitation to learning? And I was fascinated by the story of Brian's own experience as a games teacher. That was his very first teaching job. So listen in right here at artofhomeschooling.com/episode 27. And now, dun, 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 for the number 1 most listened to episode on the Art of Homeschooling podcast in its first year, it's episode number 3, Relax into Your Homeschool Rhythm. I love that this episode is the most popular episode so far out of 50 episodes, because rhythm really is where it all starts. Our daily rhythm is always shifting slightly. It's never fixed, but having a flow of activities in mind is what helps us stay grounded and helps us continue the forward momentum. One of the quotes from this episode is, "Rhythm is like a dance, and you want to find that sweet spot of structure and freedom." I remember when I was planning the content for this episode, and I thought, in the back of my mind, I thought this was going to be one of the foundational episodes that I refer to people to again and again. And it's really fun for me that that has proved to be the case. So if you want to learn more about rhythm, or you just need a refresher and some inspiration for creating a daily rhythm for your family, then this is the episode for you. Go check it out at artofhomeschooling.com/episode 3. And there you have it. The top 5 episodes so far here on the Art of Homeschooling podcast. Thanks so much for being a listener to this podcast. I really, really appreciate you. Don't forget, if you want to submit a question for the upcoming Ask Jean Anything episode in honor of our 1-year anniversary, you can do that at artofhomeschooling.com/askjean. And you can find the show notes for this episode, this top 5 episode over at artofhomeschooling.com/episode 50. That's all for today, my friend. But here's what I want you to remember. Rather than perfection, let's focus on connection. Thanks so much for listening, and I'll see you on the next episode of the Art of Homeschooling podcast.